Mojgan, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Eric.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. We had just seen each other at the summit a week or two ago, and I guess you've had, all kinds of time to implement all the things you learned about at the summit. So you can tell me about that, of course. But it's always a pleasure to have you. You're kind of a regular on this, and it's great. You're our first celebrity interview, and we're kicking it off. So, Mojgan, maybe you can just sort of tell the students a little bit about, what your job is and what's lean about it.
Thank you. I sure will. Thanks, Eric. So my name is Mojgan Amini. I work at UC San Diego. So I'm in the university environment and deal with a lot of students just like you. It's very exciting to see all of you in this class because believe it or not, we have a hard time getting our experienced staff to go through Lean Six Sigma training. So I applaud you all. Excited to hear about your projects. So my background is computer science. I work in the information technology department at UC San Diego. We basically have our fingers and hands into the whole business of the university. So not just the infrastructure and networks and all the techie stuff, but also the enterprise systems. So the systems the students use to register or apply or get financial aid or get waitlisted, and the financial systems and the HR systems. So anything that runs the business of the university, we're involved in. Personally, one of my areas of responsibility is continuous improvement program. So, and we picked Lean Six Sigma as our methodology of choice for continually improving the processes, the thousands of processes. And that's basically my background. I've been doing this I didn't know what Lean Six Sigma was until I got trained in it about 7 years ago. I got my black belt, and I've been running fast since then.
Yeah, that's sort of the great thing about being part of this Lean Six Sigma community is the fact that you get to continuously learn, right, and be part of that. Mojgan, I guess maybe the students don't know as well as I do, or a lot of the other in the higher education community, but UC San Diego is kind of the poster child is the wrong word, but you guys are sort of doing lean at the university level in a big way. And a lot of other universities are trying to learn from the things that you're doing and have done. You've got like 3,000 staff now trained in Greenbelt and things, or maybe I misspoke, but tell us a little bit about sort of the extensiveness of what you've done and what is the Lean Six Sigma process and culture look at like at UC San Diego?
Yeah, the number's up to 5,200 trained now. So it's just continually getting up there. But I think where it started was kind of grassroots, I want to say. So with one department here, one group there, trying to get their hand around what it is. So I think as an organization from the top level, like the chancellor who runs the university is very much in support of making sure anybody in the university can say, oh, I have an idea to make something better. So it's not just waiting for someone at the top to make it. So that's there. But I think what really did it for us was just deciding that we want to use this one particular methodology, Lean and Lean Six Sigma, and then setting up a very interactive training. And really in our department, we required everyone 100% of people had to go through this training. So by doing that, then we started working with our business partners. So I think it's a long process, and we were willing to kind of do the work to say like that the effect and the value will come X many years down the line. So I think it's always difficult to start the change, but once the ball gets rolling, so once some of the departments saw the other departments' outcomes, we had to come up with a good framework for showing the value, showing the investment in the training, kind of like all of your projects that you're working on, really quantifying the outcomes and how it benefits the person. It's not just the dollar amount. I think that got the ball rolling. And then and one more thing, we try to make it fun and approachable. So it's not this boring, anxiety provoking thing. Yeah.
So Mojgan, maybe that's time to put in a little plug for Process Palooza. So these guys sort of hear, the kinds of things that you guys do down there to make it a little bit more fun.
All right. Let me change my background then.
Nice.
Process Palooza came about 7 years ago or so, and it is about trying to make it fun and bring it to more people. So fixing your process is not fun. People don't want to have someone poke holes in their process and say, like, the HR process is cumbersome, or, I think Marley was saying, or somebody was saying that it's a hard process to go through. So people are hiding in the corner. So we came up with a name called Process Palooza. It felt like a carnival or a concert, and people came. Their curiosity got the best of them. And what we basically did was pick a couple of processes from the campus, from the university. One was about parking, because everybody hates the parking process, how to get a permit, how you get space and all that. And one was about this other HR process. And we made a competition out of it. We had people who were trained in Lean Six Sigma come and, on a constraint amount of time, put their skills to use and fix the process, go through DMAIC. So define, measure, analyze, improve, and control right there on the spot, on whiteboards, and show the outcomes. So it made it a spectator sport. It made it really fun. There's people like running around. So that's what Process Palooza is. And I think that really made a difference, Eric, in getting people to get on board and want to do it more and more. And so now we're in our 7th year. We'll be having, and you're going to be speaking at Process Palooza in August. I invite all of you to come. So that's a mechanism we use. We printed out cards like this. I don't know if you can see it, but it's basically it has the DMAIC on one side. Remind people, don't jump to a solution or a conclusion. Follow the process. So that's the fun part.
Yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to that. And I joked a little bit of my summit, which had 60 people. That Process Blues is the other big event in California that people can go to. Homegrown is about Lean, but you guys are going to put like 1,500 or so. Is the target?
I don't know. I think we can accommodate like 1,000 people. So we'll see if we get there. The last time we had like 800.
Where, right? So
your audio is a little bit cutting in and out, but it might just be me. Let's keep going.
Yeah, I was just sort of making a joke about being up in the cheap seat. So it's going to be a great event. Mojgan, so as you kind of look at your job, I'm going to encourage students to go ahead and raise your hand if you're online or people in class. I'll carry the camera over to you and you can go ahead and ask a question. But can you share an example of a recent or not a recent success or failure that you had that maybe sort of illustrate the way you've learned from your experience in projects in Six Sigma?
Okay. Your audio is cutting in and out, but what I got is, can you share about a success or failure with Lean Six Sigma? So I can point out a failure first. We have so many successes, and I'll touch on that. But one of the failures I can go with is a few years ago, we decided to replace our entire financial information system. So everything that runs the, finances of the large organization. So that has hundreds, if not thousands of processes involved. It's not just the system. So we did skip a few steps. That project skipped a few steps of creating the current state diagram. So ideally, we want to create the current state diagrams so that we can then identify where the improvements are, and then make the improvement in the process, then bring in the technology. So we ended up picking the technology and then just starting to configure it. And why, and so the skipping the steps of the current state led us to issues down the line. So when we're rolling out the system, we didn't, we couldn't identify the before and after steps, some of the process steps. So then we couldn't address the training needs for those steps. We couldn't address the, change management for some of those steps. And so there were some disgruntled users at the end of the day. Whereas if we would have done that, it would have been clear, like we're going from this to this, and here's how we're going to communicate it. So that's one thing I want to point out is don't take shortcuts. It's going to come back to haunt you later on. So that's one of the failures. The success, I want to say, even within the same realm. So we replaced basically every system in the university, and we're doing our student information systems right now. We replaced every other system in the past 5 years. And we mapped out a few, several thousand processes. And now we have a bank of all of our processes. So for example, I think it was Sarah, she was talking about something in the athletics department. We have this huge map, so we can say, where does athletics fit in? Oh, over here. And then we drill down and we can see our current process. What are the areas for improvement? Or we want to go to HR and recruitment is cumbersome. We can go down there and see like where that is. So I think that's a huge outcome. I don't see that done in other universities. So if that makes sense, I think that's a huge success for us.
Yeah, I think it's aspirational for a lot of universities to have that kind of visibility on the processes. We just watched in post last week where we were watching a person make toast, and to be able to see the process and see the waste is just critical, super critical, right?
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm sorry about the sound thing. I'm trying to figure out.
It's good right now.
Good right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, we got things we can improve, right? This is another thing. We'll improve our video process here. So any questions from students in the class or students online? I'm gonna go roving with the camera here, Mojgan, so that we can get some students on here. So, all right, the pressure is on, you guys. What kind of questions do you have for Mojgan?
Anything.
How about online? Looking at let's get a question from back. Oh, I can do a selfie sticker first. How's the stability of that?
What's an example of a way that you eliminated in one of the processes?
So an example of waste you've eliminated in one of the processes, Mojgan.
Yes. So let's see, off the top of my head. We do a lot of research projects here. So we get federally funded, we get funds from the federal government or organizations to do research. So one of the processes in general terms, so it was it was actually sending in a proposal to get a research grant money. So we mapped out the whole process, and we found that a couple of the steps were very manual. So a person had to go in and enter something in one place and then enter it again in another system because the systems didn't talk to each other. And, it feels like, that's no big deal. It's just like typing in and it's like a minute of someone's time. But that led to, error and, duplication, waste, doing it twice, etc. So we came up with a way to automate that step. So it basically combined the step. It got rid of all the errors because it was just a one-time thing, system to system. And it saved us something like an hour per. So that might not sound like a lot, but the number of transactions we did and the number of proposals we submitted, it ended up equaling an extra full-time person's, number of hours. And so what happened with that saving is that we could actually take on more grants and take on submissions of more, because we're always growing as a university without hiring an extra person. So we basically can sustain the growth without investing more people time into it. So that's one example. It's not always about hard dollars. It's incremental pieces of people's time.
Well, I think that's something too that I think, we're coming to understand as a discipline more and more, that, lean is real good at capacity creation.
Yeah.
And then it really depends on what you use that capacity for.
Exactly.
More business, more grants, more whatever. I also want to say, Mojgan, I'm talking to Julie at Marquette, and they're kind of got a grant going on that, right? So.
Oh, yeah. I was talking to her too.
Put together, share our best practices on that process, because every university is struggling with that. So
I'm in touch with her. We shared our landscape with her.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, glad to hear that. Any other questions for Mojgan? Yeah, we got another question front row. Hang on a second. I'll do my camera work here. Unless you wanted to stand up and jump up and talk. There you go.
What is the biggest obstacle when you're having people make these process changes, and having them actually do it and be happy about it?
Ooh,
Talk about change management. Mojgan,
yes.
I know you guys are big in that, in addition to your Lean Six Sigma, right?
Yes, that's so important. So it felt like three questions in one, because they're very different parts. So one is, getting people ready and willing to change versus being happy with the change versus like just knowing what to change to begin with. So I think what it's always, there's a big curve with people wanting to change. Most people don't want to change. And so it's warming them up to it and showing the benefits. So really what Lean Six Sigma helps with is so visual. You show once it's being mapped out, you're not telling them, here's what you need to change. They're seeing it themselves. Here's my process. Oh my gosh, look, there's this 3 steps going round and round in loop. Like that's obviously not a good way to do this process. So it makes it really clear, like you take ownership of wanting to change that. I think being happy with it and what's in it for them, just knowing the implications. Like if you don't, here are the numbers, here's the wasted time. And somebody can make a decision whether they don't want to change the process or they do. At the end of the day, it's up to, nobody's going to force any, it's up to the person that, in my opinion, owns the business process to want to do it. And I think it's easier if you do it in incremental small changes, not large scale, like pull the rug from under people's. So I would recommend clear communication upfront. Why are we doing this? I don't know, Eric, if you talk about change management, but we use a methodology that's it's really good about building awareness of the change, the benefits of it, and all of that. So I think communication, you cannot do enough. Then what people warm up to it after they hear it 5 or 7 times.
Yeah, I think there's a growing awareness in the Lean community that change management is so important. Maybe even in Lean Six Sigma, maybe it's 50% of skills and tools and whatnot, but it's also 50% of getting the people to buy in and to actually follow through and sustain those changes, right?
Oh yeah, and sustaining the change is a challenge. So you're very excited. You're all going to finish your projects. You're going to make some improvements, but you have to make sure somebody takes that and owns it after you leave and you're done with your project, because keeping an eye on the change that was made so it doesn't rubber band back to what it was is very important. So sustaining that.
Yeah, they don't learn about control to the end of the class, Mojgan. So don't be a joy kill on this. So yeah, there's definitely issues when you guys get to the point where you have made some great improvements. Everybody's real happy, but, you know, Mojgan and I know that, you know, the real test is, you know, can you sustain it, right? That's the deal. Mojgan, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up at this point. We try to wrap up all these interviews with your best piece of advice to the next generation of lean practitioners that are heading out into the world. But if you had a piece of advice, what would it be?
Process improvement is the foundation to anything that you're gonna do. Believe me, AI, everybody's talking about AI, but it's really about the processes still. AI is just a tool. So taking this mentality with you, questioning the way things are done and using data to show how it could be better, that's gonna be a skill that you could take in any direction you go. So yeah, take it with you. Keep it in your pocket.
All right, there you go. Again, thanks for that. So what we want to do in order to wrap this up, go to gallery view. Wes, can you get gallery view on there? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give you a good Cal Poly Lean Six Sigma Green Belt class wave as a thank you. So everybody online, go ahead and wave a little bit. We're getting this on recording, so you got to look good, and we'll use this in our advertisements. But Mojgan, thank you very much. These are the people you've affected. We'll see you later. Huh? Next time you're in San Luis Obispo.
Sure
Okay.
thing. Thanks, everyone. Good luck with your class.
Okay.